let's talk about the ForgeBox module of the week. And as we mentioned before, it's CBDebugger. So
Yeah, we're going to take you in a little more of a deep dive this time in this section. So what's new with CBDebugger 4.2? Honestly, the biggest one is new docs. It's moved over to a Git book. You have great docs going through all the different collectors. That's kind of the panels, things that you can learn from a request. New in this one, we have the hyper collector that you can enable log response or request. You can control all of those. It will show you how long it took and the body of the either the request or the response coming back. The Lucy SQL collector, note that if you do want that one, you need to make sure your Lucy server is in debug mode. You can easily add that to cfconfig or go into the debugging panel in the Lucy admin. Heap dump support, you can create a Java heap dump. Again, great for debugging memory leaks or just seeing how your system is handling the loads. The request docs cleaned up a bit, so now you can see just the request, the current request information. All the rest is in the visualizer at the CBDebugger entry point. So when you click on the doc, it will expand, show you all the different stuff about the request that you're looking for. We've put some improvements into the SQL and the JSON formatting so that they're nice and formatted in the panels, and you can copy them easily with this little clipboard icon. And finally, using the timer object, you can add your own timers in. That will show up in that request panel. You can either do that by asking for the timer, injecting it, or using delegates, which is super fun.
yep.
So yeah,
So
lots of awesome stuff.
yeah, I've been showing some of the docs and the outputs of what shows up on there. And yeah, it's definitely, I really like the fact that when you're doing API calls, you can still get to it, because an API call is behind the scenes and you can't use the debug that spits out on the bottom of the page like a lot of people used to working in the old days. And so the debug mode, you can just basically turn it on with a secret key, and then the interceptors too. So this is pretty
I believe
cool.
that's it. Then the CBDebugger endpoint that I mentioned that's where you can see every request that's coming in. You can set it to auto refresh so you can see the new requests coming in. And yeah, super awesome.
Yep. And it's pretty easy to install, and then you just configure the pieces that you want, so if you're not using certain things, just turn them on or off. And like this here, we can basically go and add the different modules. So it comes with a couple of them by default, and you just add the other collectors as you want. So again, choose ones you want there, and it's just really neat. I really like it, and I see that it's basically having a mini fusion reactor in there, and it's nice. And there's more features. I can't believe some of the things we're adding into it. It's going to be really nice to see what gets added next. If there's something you think it would save your life debugging wise, or just like in your process, let us know. We can try and get that added too, because that's the key. Is we always want to keep improving it. So
so one you probably didn't get to see yet, but I don't know when this was added. There's this object methods, and this one really shines. Just using metadata, you can add a profile metadata key to either a component or a method, and you're going to get timing information in your debug timer panels just for that. So like you can think like, what's taking so long in this execution? You throw this profile on the component, and now you're going to get a breakdown of every method in there. So if you got nice small method, you're going to be able to see what is taking so long in each of these. So just with a single profile annotation, I will be the first to admit that I do this usually by wrapping things in some, function I threw in the request scope, or like doing timing, and this is so much easier. So
yeah, for sure. Like I said, you're using so much of your own debugging tricks, but this does have a lot of stuff in there for you just to be able to pull from, and saves you having to go and like dump out what's in the RC scope right now, what's in the PRC scope. You can see it all right there, and it's nice to see the timings on different things, and you can see over time too, so you can keep that up. So maybe there's one every once in a while that gets way bigger. You can like, why is that one taking so long when the others didn't? So yep, great little module. And of course, it's great in environments, development, staging. You Probably don't want it on production because it does do extra work depending on what you have turned on. So if you do have it on, make sure you trim down what you have on using environments. But yeah, it's really, really helpful tool. And the cool thing is if you needed to turn it on in production, you could just for a second just to get some data, and then turn it back off and go from there. And now they do have that improved export, right? Or it's a dump support. But then we have an export. Yeah, you can export the profiler and stuff in JSON. So I wonder what they're going to use that for. Maybe there's another feature coming soon that will be using that more extensively.
Yeah.
So very cool. Okay, next up. That was our ForgeBox module of the week, brought to you by Modernize or Die podcast, CFML News Edition, proudly sponsored by Order Solutions. You can see the new episodes every week on cfmlnews.modernizeordie.io or on the Order Solutions YouTube channel.